All right, Tangled Rights, here we are. Let's keep that shit in, it's funny. Episode 46 or 47?
I'll look.
I think it's 47 because it was president, not president, president.
Oh, it's President Trump again, 47.
Yeah, 47. We have a special guest today. I'll let him introduce himself.
What's up, everyone? How you doing? My name's Tony Hernandez.
Tony Hernandez. All right, where are you from, Tony?
From Queens. I'm actually retired NYPD. I did just under a decade in the transit system. I did undercover police work, commonly referred to as anti-crime or plainclothes.
Did you start in plainclothes or were you starting like on a beat with a uniform?
On a beat in the uniform.
Okay.
Yeah, when I started, they had a program called Impact. It was a citywide program. So basically what they did was they send you to high crime areas and you basically patrol the subways. You know, could be all hours, could be 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., 4 p.m. to 4 in the morning, wherever there was crime patterns and stuff. Especially as a rookie, you get the shitty posts.
Sure.
You know?
What were were you guys doing 12s or what were you doing?
What were we doing at that time? 835s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not
So it wasn't
terrible.
too bad, but it was mandatory overtime a lot of the time.
Sure.
So, you know, that 835 could easily turn into 12 hours. And if you
Right.
got a collar or something, forget it. You were there
Yeah, if
for
you're stuck, you got to do
20,
paperwork and
24
everything.
plus, yeah.
So what year did you start and what year did you finish?
2013 to 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what got you into that?
Well, I grew up in Queens, so it was a generational neighborhood in Flushing. And in that neighborhood, you had a lot of organized crime figures, but you also had firemen, law enforcement, priests. You know, it was like a common mix. So in my family, that was pretty much the mix as well. You know, we had all different kinds of people, law enforcement, people on both sides of the law. You know how it goes.
Right.
In those neighborhoods, you know, you go to the same churches, you go to the same schools, you eat in the same restaurants. It's like commonplace. If you asked me growing up if I was going to be a cop, the answer would have been no, that's for sure. I delved a little bit more to the street side. You know, I was hanging out in the bars and the social clubs, that kind of thing. And I really didn't have any interest in the police life. I had cousins and I had some uncles who were on the job, and we were very different in regards to our personalities. You know, they were a little bit more straight edge. You know, I'm not like that. You know, I'm a little bit more laid back. I know how to, you know, conduct myself appropriately depending on the situation, of course. You know, I just wasn't that kind of so straight edge. You know, I was a little bit more.
Do you think that helped you in your job too?
Oh, definitely. At that time, it was pre-body cameras. So, you know, we had something called discretion. Gave a guy a break, pretty much, you know. My cousins and those kind of people that are very, you know, they just see black and white. They don't see like a gray area. This is the rule. This is the law. I don't care who you are, what you're doing. If you're a nurse going to work, you're going to get a ticket because you just did that. I wasn't like that. You know,
Right.
I would understand a person's story. Now, if you had a criminal record and stuff like that and you give me your story,
Or
I
if
could
you're an
see through
asshole.
it. Exactly.
Well, the other thing with the pre-body cam is you get a little bit more discretion with other stuff too, right?
Of course.
So maybe somebody...
The bad stuff.
I mean, so it's weird, right? Because I do think it's bad, but I also don't think it's bad. Like there are times where when I got talked to by police officers, if the cop just wanted to slap the shit out of me rather than take me to jail, be like, listen, stop being a fucking idiot. It's like, do you want the SWAT or do you want the officer referral? I get the SWAT, my dad doesn't find out. I get the officer referral, I got Saturday school. Give me the fucking SWAT, dude, all day.
That's it.
That's the way I did it in school. So I don't know. I think there is a benefit to being able to go lightly hands-on. I'm not talking about Rodney King and people here. I'm not talking about Rodney King in here, but do you understand what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're
There's like a give and a take, and it's the same position I have on simple battery. I think that simple battery, like two men deciding that they're fucking mad at each other.
Fisticuffs.
Yeah. In New York, I don't know if it's down in the city, but in Syracuse, they had mutual combat rules. So if you and I are at a bar and you punch me and I punch you back, probably not going to prosecute it.
Pre-body camera, I would say you go your way, you go your way, warn and admonish. Now with body cameras, you're both coming with me.
Really?
Just to cover my ass, you know? Because if you see a fight and now I get it on body camera, this guy walks down the block, he's hemorrhaging in his head, you have no idea, he drops dead.
Sure.
Recently, which is something crazy, I don't know if you just saw this, it happened yesterday. 2 NYPD cops get in an unauthorized vehicle chase in Upper Manhattan. I believe it starts in the Bronx, and they follow this car to Upper Manhattan. The car crashes into a building, boom, sets into a blaze, lights on fire. They both die, supposedly, the passengers, right? The cops don't even put it over. First off, if you put over a vehicle pursuit in New York City, you'll have pretty much the mayor get on the radio and telling you to terminate it and stop it. It's extreme hazard to the public, and they don't want to do
Everything's
it under
just
any
so congested,
circumstances.
bicycles, pedestrians.
So many things could go wrong, and in this instance, I don't know the particulars. I just saw the news article about it, but they did an unauthorized vehicle chase, pursuit. They go from the Bronx to Upper Manhattan. The car crashes, sets up in a fire, goes into a blaze, and the gentleman's burning alive. The cops see this, turn around, go back to the precinct, sign out, don't say a word to anyone.
Oh,
Holy shit.
Yeah. This is not good. This is all what I read in the paper. I don't have any firsthand knowledge.
Sure.
I didn't speak to anyone yet, and I have friends still in the department. I haven't spoken to anyone yet in regards to the case.
But if that's true,
true, they're in some serious trouble. They're both suspended as of
they
right
should
now.
be. I mean,
that's terrible. I mean, that's first off, if you do the whole thing, the reason why they didn't put it over was because just what I said. They didn't want to get reprimanded. Like, hey, you can get in a lot of trouble for that, possibly suspended. And I don't know their situation. If they were rookies, if you'd have less than 2.5 years, that means termination. You're not allowed to be suspended while you're still on probation.
Right? Yeah.
Correct. So, if they did that though, they're looking at. You're the lawyer. You tell me what they're looking at. Is that manslaughter? I don't know what that would be, but it's definitely reckless endangerment. It's so many things. They're going to get hit with a slew of charges if they're found guilty.
So they're going to get hit with a slew of charges, undoubtedly. That'll definitely, I would presume, is going to be prison time. But worse.
When I say found guilty, I'm sorry. I meant like department trial first. If they're found guilty in that, forget it. They're going to go through the courts and everything else. They'll do jail.
But the other thing
jail time.
It's not worse, but the civil side. If you have a department guideline that says, hey, you're not supposed to chase under any circumstances except for going after a convicted murderer or something crazy. Like, we got to get this guy because he just assassinated
kidnapping situation.
Right.
Yeah, something nutty, right? Okay, you can chase him now because the risk is worth whatever. Then they're going to get the absolute shit suit out of him.
But they don't have to pay that personally ever, right? So
well, I think they're not covered under qualified immunity. I'm not sure what the new law is in New York City. They just changed it recently within the past couple of years. If you're not acting within department guidelines, this is after the whole kneeling incident. I don't know if it was George Floyd, but then after George Floyd, there was the diaphragm law that took effect in New York City. I think around the same time, certain aspects of the patrol guide changed where officers won't be covered under qualified immunity. I'm not exactly sure, but it was something. This is if you're acting in a manner that's detrimental to the public or doing something you're not supposed to. I'm pretty sure it was something along those lines. Either they were pushing for the bill or they passed the bill, but I remember reading something about that. In this instance, I don't think they should qualify. They were doing something completely illegal. That's not in the patrol guide at all. It says in big letters, no vehicle pursuits. There's little circumstances, like you said, exigent circumstances,
something crazy.
Something ridiculous would have to happen in order for them to say, get him, go ahead. Like otherwise,
Bin Laden, in 2008, they find him and they're like, wait, that's Osama bin, go get him, right? Yeah. That would be an instance where they're going to let him chase him. You got the
Epstein files in there, you follow that, right? Other than that.
I'm pretty sure they already burned all those, but so I'm kind of torn on that, right? Because without the qualified immunity, what do those police officers have? Like, when you were a cop, your 8th year, if someone sued you, what are they going to get?
Because they can say you were acting outside of the rules, and you might not have been.
But the point that I'm making with that is like, it'd be just like if you sued me. Mm-hmm. You're going to get my truck and a couple of guns? Okay, cool. It's not going to take care of the damage, right? So from the perspective of making the victims whole or their families whole, the only way to do it is through the coffers of the city.
I guess, not immediately. What about if they put a judgment on you? I mean, judgment's good for about 30 years. You the lawyer, you tell me. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think if you put a judgment
you're going to lose
on
your
someone,
job. What are you going to be?
But politics is so much about.
Would they be able to? They'd probably be able to garnish your check for the rest of your life.
For sure, but again,
it definitely wouldn't equate to what it is. But does a lawsuit ever? Usually, you settle somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, you settle in the middle, and it's never enough, right? Especially in a situation like that where you're
loss of life can never, in my opinion, never has a price. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no,
loss
you're good,
of life
and it's true, and it's not just loss of life. It's also like these people. I've had clients on the civil side of things that get in a car wreck and their back hurts, and they get like a good settlement, right? Because they have a blown disc or whatever, but they're 30. You're never going to be the same.
Right.
Even if you get $10 million, you're going to wake up in pain every day for the rest of your life. Like, it's not worth it, right? There's no amount of money. Or the
it's
question.
hard to put a monetary value on, pain and suffering.
Sure.
It really
and
is.
I always tell people, it's like, look, this is just a legal fiction because we don't have a Harry Potter wand to wave and make you better, right? If they did, if you won and you get the magic pill, you're suddenly better. People would love that, but it's never going to be good enough, especially in that situation. But
I agree with you.
Do you know what they did by chance? Did it say, hey, these guys had just done this, or was it because it's going to be even crazier if it was some minor thing?
So another news report that recently came out, and this is viral all over the internet, was 3 NYPD cars on the border of Nassau and Queens, right by the Cross Island Parkway, got mobbed by those street racers and pretty much just forced out.
Yeah,
they
I
threw
saw that.
cones at them. Did you see that?
Yeah.
They kind of just muscled the cops out and was just
Well, what
like,
are you
get the hell
supposed to
out of
do?
here. You're supposed to call for a level 1, level 2. I don't know the rules now, but if you have a mob like that, we call them like a roving band. If you can't control that crowd, a lot of times that happens in parades and stuff. You get like these guys who just pick up guys along the way. Before you know, it's 100 drunk, angry, testosterone high kind of guys who are just looking for trouble.
And it's 20-1 odds also.
And you're like, now you start calling. I got a level, I got 20, 30 guys. And, someone who has rank will start calling for mobilizations.
Sure.
A level 1, a level 2. For example, a 9/11 would be a level 4. So they'd call for something in the middle. And when that happens, all the precincts, all the cops from everywhere start mobilizing in order to support. That should have been called. When you back down like that, what kind of precedent is that setting for the public? You have to respect the police. You call 911. Somebody probably called and said, hey, look, there's like 100 people right now doing street racing. I don't know what else they're doing.
Didn't they have like an intersection blocked off and they were doing donuts and shit?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think those things are kind of dumb, man. I mean,
it's all over the country, man.
Well, I say that because all right, crotch rocket, right? I've got a Gixxer 1000.
I went to them when I was a kid, but
we would always just do it in a parking lot.
It wasn't like this, though. This was kind of this is different.
Yeah, we never did it in the street.
They take over highways. Yeah, We went on abandoned blocks in factory areas in Queens and Long Island. We had the races in Deer Park, I remember, and Maspeth, even in the South Bronx. We would go to where the factory was, where nobody was. These guys were in the middle of the Cross Island Parkway and like shutting down they shut down the Kosciuszko Bridge at one point. Same kind of I don't know, like that Fast and Furious type. They just like closed down all the streets and it's like, you're out this way. I mean,
we were always just north of town. So I'm talking when I rode mostly was in Wichita, especially when we were doing street racing and shit. We just go way outside of town to this road called Greenwich is what we call it, but you guys would call it Greenwich probably.
Yeah.
And there were like 3 or 4 little factories or like industrial places.
Okay.
But after 5 p.m., Monday through Friday is closed. Saturday, there ain't nobody out there.
Okay.
And you've got a 2-mile stretch of flat 4-lane road. Perfect for street racing.
That makes sense.
Never saw a cop once. I don't know how many motorcycle crashes I've seen out there because my buddy's like dropping a wheelie or whatever. No problems. So it's like, I like it. I think it's fine. But if you did it at like in the middle of Kellogg, that's a dumb fucking idea, right? Of course they're going to get called.
Of course.
And then you see this other shit where they're doing donuts and somebody walks out and then gets just blasted and fucking slingshotted into a crowd.
I've seen a few of those.
Dude, it's just, I don't know, man. I don't get it.
I think it's
me being old, right? I'm old now.
I think we're getting there, yeah.
Yeah,
Because I'm just like,
getting old.
There's an intersection by my house where they do donuts like every couple months. And so we can hear them from my house. And it's just, you go the next day and you just see the big circles. It's like,
it gets you so mad.
It's right by a cop's substation. I just get confused how they can plan it, like, and nobody find out that it's happening. Like, where are these plans taking place? Because it's got to be on Facebook or something, right? Like
they're on the Facebook sending messages.
They're on that Facebook.
It's fine.
Them damn kids.
That face space
I'm
thing.
not saying it like that.
In 20 years, he's going to be one of those fucking old guys with white hair. Do you know who I am?
You know what's funny though is, and I don't know if it's funny, but when we went to those races, let's say, we went there to have fun. If a cop came, we all ran to our cars and kind of got out of there and then went to the next spot. It was almost kind of cool. We didn't want problems with the cops. These kids are egging the cops on, like, come on, let's go, and like throwing shit at them. Like, what's the goal here? I don't understand. Is it to have fun? Is it to cause anarchy? Is it to fight with the police? So, I mean, now that you have 3 kids who are wanted, I don't know what they did exactly. I don't know what they're charged with, but they're wanted now.
I mean, that's assault on a peace officer at minimum, if not battery. Like,
oh, they all wanted for a slew of felonies. That was reading in the paper. It was at least 4. There's at least 4 or 5.
Yeah, and depending upon what they were saying, if they were like threatening them, like, "Oh, I'll fucking kill you." Okay, well, that's terroristic threats on a police officer.
And it's all recorded. They have their phones saying this shit, like, I'm good, fuck you, like all this kind of shit, and they're recording it. I don't know.
This is where slapping people. And this is my point, right? Because if these people would have gotten the fuck slapped out of them once or twice before, this isn't going to happen to the degree that it is, I think. Because you get that respect for the normal hierarchy. Like the big dog eats first, the little dog second. Here, the police have a certain amount of power. Yeah, sometimes that cop who won't shut his mouth is on the block running his mouth to the wrong guy, and he gets a fuck knocked out of him.
Right.
What does he learn? How to police in a different way. And I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying this is the way that animals work, and we are animals.
I agree with you.
So maybe something like that would have helped these kids
It's a cause and effect.
from their parents or the authority
way,
figures.
yeah.
I agree. Chris Rock said it a long time ago. I blame the parents. You know, it was a funny thing that he said in his comedy special, but it's true. It all starts in the household. If there's not a strong figure to put that kid in line, then they cause anarchy. And I think that's what's going on right now. Not only that, I think it's a lack of respect for law enforcement in general. The rank and file right now is suffering. If you notice anything, is the one thing that we can take away from all of this is that nobody wants to be a cop anymore.
Oh, fuck
Yeah.
There's a mass exodus of police in the New York City Police Department in the last 5 years, more than it's been since its inception. That is ridiculous to me. It's almost it's over 150-year-old organization. You're telling me in the last 5 years you had the greatest exodus of cops ever and the least amount of hires? What does that say to you? Where are we headed with this? In the next 5 years, it's going to be ridiculous.
Aren't there a couple of states that are specifically targeting New York City officers for marketing to say, hey, we know that shit's going.
There's one that says life sucks, right?
Something like that.
that.
Yeah,
It's like life sucks. And then there's like all the slew of benefits that you get. I believe it was a campaign in Florida.
Yeah. Fort Lauderdale or something like that.
One of them.
Or maybe just the whole state was like, hey, we know that, your life sucks. I remember seeing it and I was like, that's very clever.
Winters don't exist in Florida. Come here, yeah.
That's true also. Yeah, it's not going to fucking snow.
It wasn't only Florida, though. I mean, it was Texas. I know a lot of guys who definitely made the jump out to Suffolk and Nassau and Long Island, which is a no-brainer because they're some of the highest paid in the country.
Sure.
And their unions are kind of run right. If you look at the way the NYPD union, they don't defend their members at all. They sell them out every chance they get. It's ridiculous. I mean, and that's, I have a channel now on YouTube called Corruption Connection. I discuss organized crime, history. I talk a little bit about my life and, past history working in the subways. But one thing I do touch on a lot in my interviews especially is that the NYPD is a systematically corrupt organization. If you're looking for corruption, you'll find it somewhere. It's when they have these commissions, the Kefauver, the Mullen, the Knapp, all these commissions, they put a spotlight on a certain segment of the corruption, but it doesn't mean, Tom, Dick, and Harry over there aren't doing much worse.
Sure.
It's just sometimes it's politics. Sometimes they may be powerful than the guy or the scapegoat. And sometimes it's just not that broad of an investigation. I mean, look at it right now. I mean, Eric Adams was indicted for corruption.
And they just dismissed it. Yeah.
Went right away.
I saw that and
there's prosecutors who have resigned over this,
Dude,
lifelong people in the Justice Department who are like, I've sworn to not do this. Remember what we were talking about? Those stand up, don't look the other way, black and white. They're right in this instance.
Well,
this is not, a cop taking a free cup of coffee or a guy placing a $5 bet, on a football game. This is like taking bribes from a foreign nation to influence politics in New York City, which is one of the most influential, if not cities in the whole country.
Well, especially as far as business goes. And if you think from that perspective, like New York is the center of global business, at least for now.
Right.
Stock exchange, all that shit.
Exactly.
Since you kind of opened the door on that, I do remember seeing that and here's the point I was going to make to your Eric Adams things. When I finally saw that, hey, they're, just dropping it and he's never going to be prosecuted, I got mad for a millisecond and I was like, all right, whatever. It's another one. Like how fucked is that to the apathy that like we should all be pissed about that, right? At least I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm saying that there's enough stuff there that the questions need to be asked and they need to be answered in the proper way, right? Whether that be a jury or you do a full investigation and then it turns out, oh, we were wrong, right? Someone set him up, one of his political opponents, whatever the answer is. But the fact that they didn't bother to go through the process to find out definitively, as good as we can prove as humans, as fallible as we are, is frustrating. But at the same time, it's interesting because when I saw it, I got mad and then I was like, oh, whatever. It's just another one. And it's like, at this point, I don't think that these fuckers are going to be held accountable.
I think that you feel it that way because you've been on this side. You've been in the law field. You've seen maybe deals be made and stuff like that behind the scenes that are unethical or questionable, stuff like that. For the average citizen, what message does this send? that just like you said, there's enough evidence to just at least look into this. Let's see what's going on. Create some kind of committee to figure that you create a committee about everything, and you just want to let this one go and just be like, don't worry about it. We'll just forget about this. We'll dismiss it. I think they dismissed it with prejudice. No, without prejudice, and now they just switched it to with prejudice.
Yeah, no, it's done forever.
It's forever gone.
Yeah, it's gone. And I think it creates this kind of goes back to your thing about the kids. And I don't know if maybe that they're thinking this on the front of their brains, but there's all this stuff that's been happening over and over and over again where powerful people, rich people, influential people don't suffer the same consequences as you and I. And so there's a two-tiered justice system. Definitely.
It's on display right now.
Right. And it's like, why the fuck should I care? Why should I care about these rules whenever they don't apply to everybody equally? So fuck your authority.
We've definitely had clients that are more upper class that come in and facing criminal charges, and they're like, wait, this is for other people, not for me, right? Like, they think that there's special rules that are going to take place in their case. Like,
because they have money?
Yeah, because they have money, or like they've just never been in the system, right? So they're like, I'm not like that. They should have my hearing tomorrow. And it's like, nope, you're going to have to wait.
That their victim is, and you know the one I'm talking about, if their victim is like on a lower social strata, and I had one very specifically, and he was like, no, she's a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. I know that I fucked up, but I shouldn't be going to prison for her. And it's just like, well,
it's
the breaks,
in
man.
some instances, it's true, right? We see some people where that happens for them.
I had a case where a guy shot another dude in the chest with a .22. Didn't kill him. Like, hit him right there, like right underneath the heart, like half an inch, which is crazy. But basically did it on camera. Walked through, scuffle, shooting, walks back. They find him in a stolen vehicle. He's got meth on him. Ended up pleading that one out to battery with substantial bodily harm with 364 days in county. Why? Because the victim was a convicted pedophile who hadn't registered and had done a bunch of other shit. And it's just like, you have the least sympathetic victim you could ever have.
Right.
So there are instances where that does play a factor because, again, we're all just animals, right? And you get the wrong jury up there, they're going to say, fuck him, he should have killed him. Right? You just need one. So that does happen. Not necessarily for the reason that we're talking about, but just like you got one piece of shit and another bigger piece of shit. And it's like, well, the trash is cleaning itself.
I was just going to say, trash takes out the trash kind of thing.
Yeah. But I wanted to ask a question. Sorry, I kind of got off on a tangent there. The corruption thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about that a little bit. Let's go into that. How much of that did you see? And then also, aside from when you were on FTO, were you guys out in pairs?
Yes and no. We did solo train patrol, but we also do partnered up work.
Okay.
Depending on what the initiative was. So if it was just a patrol day, but if we did a lot of midnight train patrol, and sometimes you had to do that by yourself.
Okay. So I'm talking like actual, just low level, not institutional type corruption, but like, maybe a cop taking money to let a drug dealer do his thing, stuff like that. Did you ever see anything like that?
Personally, I haven't seen anyone take any money for drugs. I did.
I'm just using that as an example.
No, of course. I would see. So it depends what type of corruption you're talking about. There's certain levels to this.
Sure.
Technically, taking a free cup of coffee every day at your local bodega is corruption because you can be corrupted by that guy now. You're asking for a favor, you owe him something, no? Every day he gives you coffee.
Something funny about that.
Which is technically prohibited in the patrol guard. You're not allowed to do that.
Right.
However, if you're an upper echelon police official, you can have free meals everywhere you want.
No, but like I'm from Midwest, and we have a gas station called Quick Trip.
Okay.
Quick Trip's policy is every police officer that comes in there gets a free fountain drink or a free coffee, whatever.
A lot of towns and municipalities have that. Why is that?
Because they want the officer presence. It has nothing to do with bribing the police, but they just want the police presence at the Quick Trips to diffuse any potential situations.
It makes total sense to me.
So I think it's interesting because on one level, it's like, okay, we want the cops in there, give them some energy, whatever. They're here, they're around, good. But on the other side, what you're saying is also true. There's like a level to like...
It does open the doors.
Yeah.
In my particular area where I worked in Queens, we covered 6 different precincts. I did work citywide, like I said, at one point when I got out. So I was in Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens. I was all over the place. I never really worked in Staten Island, I don't think. But at one instance, the 109 precinct, and I think still to this day, has been scandal after scandal after scandal in regards to the massage parlors and the gambling parlors. They're everywhere, all Asian run. And they've notorious. They've been notorious for giving bribes to police officers, or at least bribing some kind of detective. In one instance, then it was a captain. Cops have actually went to jail and did time over this, and it's just kind of, this guy went to jail. It's almost like a factory line. Next guy's in, then the next guy's in. It hasn't stopped. If you walk down 41st Avenue to this day, right now, in Main Street in Flushing, you'll hear the girls catcalling. They have all the massage parlors. It extended now with the migrants down Roosevelt Avenue, which is a predominantly Latino area, a lot of Hispanics. So they kind of just blended in now. And if you see, they do Operation Roosevelt Avenue. This ties into what I'm talking about with the corruption. They had, I don't know how many cops, let's say 100 cops, right? Squadron of cops broken up into different units, up and down Roosevelt Avenue, going after all these brothels, going after the illegal migrant sex workers and the pimps and all this stuff, right? Smoke and mirrors, with the TV cameras and everything. It lasted for about a week. The brothels just moved from one place to another. Now, just a couple days ago, 2 rookie cops who were involved in this Roosevelt Avenue initiative have just been arrested and charged in the DA's office of burglary and shaking down one of these prostitution
It's like
parlors.
racketeering.
Pretty much.
Give me money.
So what they did was, and this ties into the body cameras. It's good and bad, and this is good because it caught 2 corrupt douchebags who, because of the mass exodus and the difficulty in acquiring the top quality police officers, they're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel. They put the standards so low now. I mean, you don't have to do anything. I don't even think you need college anymore. You don't need to do the mile. They don't yell at you in the academy. They just make it so easy to go in.
Didn't you used to have a bachelor's? Have to have a bachelor's?
No, you had to have an associate's or 60 credits.
Okay, yeah.
In order to be a captain, you had to have a bachelor's.
Okay.
Go the executive route.
Sure.
Anyway, these 2 rookies who have very low tax numbers, I think they have 2 years on the job. Not even. I think they're still on probation. They just got arrested. One of them was lucky enough to resign, which is a little weird to me. I don't know how they do that when you're under investigation, but they just got arrested, burglary, and shaking down prostitutes. So they had their body cameras on. It shows them going to the location, having some kind of discussion, shutting the body cameras off. It's alleged they took the keys from the prostitute. Who knows what they did with them in there? I'm sure they had some free services or whatever. Sure. Went to the safe, took the money from the safe, and then turned the body cameras back on when they did all this stuff. Then put the body cameras back on when it was all over, or they did a ride around the block, or act like they just arrived. Or I'm not sure of the specifics of it. There's a pretty big indictment, but I got that from it, that they put the body cameras on. They did some kind of like, yeah, okay, everything's good. They shut them off, then did the dirty work, then put the body cameras back on, like, all right, everything's good. Meanwhile, they had burglarized the joint and did all these criminal activities. I mean, you cannot make this up.
Why even turn it on then?
You have to. Because that'll probably raise more suspicion. Like, why didn't you turn your body camera on? Like, oh, I did. Who knows what was going through their heads? But when you arrive on the scene, you have to turn the body camera on.
That's if you're arriving to a call, though.
I don't know the specifics. Like I said, okay. I'm not familiar with the Operation Roosevelt Avenue. I don't know if there's cops stationed there all day. Like, all right, this is your fixed post. This is my corner. Or you get called. Or if you do get called, hey, officer so-and-so, this is your corner. Are you responding to it? Yeah, don't worry, I got it. Maybe it was one of those. Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure of the particulars. But I just know that they were arrested and charged. And all this stuff that I'm saying literally happened within the last week. Like these 3 things that I just told you in the news, it literally happened probably within the last few days. It's crazy. And the hits just keep on coming. Every day, you just see more and more a scandal coming out of the coffers of the NYPD. It's crazy. And everybody called me, oh, this kid's full of shit. When I did my first interview, I did it with the Connect out in LA, Johnny Mitchell. He's got a pretty big channel. And I could see some of the comments like, oh, this kid's so full of shit. This is not the 1980s. What cop would risk their badge and all this kind of stuff. And now you just see it all coming out. I saw it a long time ago, but I saw it in, like I said, there's different facets of it. You couldn't take a cup of coffee, but I was in the restaurant business before I was a cop, and that's where I made a lot of my connections. So I would see these upper echelon police officials taking free meals all the time. And I talk about steak dinners, stuff like that. Like $1.25 cup of coffee. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a big difference.
So it's okay for them, but not okay for them. And then you're actually prosecuting them for it, which is crazy. You're not even giving them a little warning, like, don't do it anymore. You're actually,
for a cup of coffee?
For anything. If it's a consistent basis and you get an IAB log dropped on you, it doesn't matter what you just took. Could be a quarter. I've seen guys get jammed up for nothing. Literally, like they just got a target on you and they'll find something.
Is that a situation where they want that guy and they're going to get him? Or is it a situation where they just happen to be looking?
Could be anything. Could be, somebody pissed off somebody at headquarters.
Right.
The CO pissed off the chief at headquarters. Now he brings guys down to break your balls. Inspections, hey, you got white socks on, now you're getting the vacation day taken away. Bullshit like that.
What color are your socks supposed to be?
Black. Yeah, no, serious. It's like stupid things like that. Like they'll come in if you have.
It sounds like the military to me.
It's what it's like.
Your skivvy shirt's got to be green. What are you doing with a white shirt?
But the problem is, you want to pick on guys like this, and meanwhile, look at the morale is as all-time low. You get paid shit. You're treated like shit. You're not supported by the bosses. You're not supported by public. And then you want to break my balls about white socks and not having the proper duty belt. And
well, I don't know if you know this, but if your socks are the wrong color, you're not going to be able to enforce the laws properly.
I know that must have been in.
And you're going to be slower.
That must have been in your third year of law school. I didn't go to law school.
That's where they told us that. They keep that information. They're like, hey, by the way, this is specifically. We never tell the police officers this, but if they have the wrong color socks on, they're going to be shittier at their jobs and slower to catch criminals. So
yeah, it's no problem that their fat asses can't run 1.5 miles anymore. But let them have white socks. Let them have black socks.
I was going to ask you about that in the city because all the times that I were down there, you get such a mix of people. Mm-hmm. Like I'm a decent sized dude. I'm athletic, but when I would go to New York City, I would feel fucking small. Like there were always these dudes that are just animals, like giant, 6'3", fucking shredded, walking around. But then I'd see these cops that look like Barney Fife from my hometown of 800 people. Like how the fuck did that shit work, dude? Like how are these guys not just getting the shit slapped out of them when they try to arrest some dude or even engage with a member of the public that's just like, why would I respect you whenever I could just tell you no?
They do. There's numerous videos of it. I've seen it personally. People just tell cops to go fuck themselves.
And they're like, fair enough. You're right. I can't do anything.
Some of them are just not made. Some people are just not made for this job. Me, I have a little bit of an edge to me. I was around street people. So it was different for me to have a uniform on, but it was no different for me to take a subway. I was taking a subway since I'm 12 years old by myself. So I wasn't scared to walk down there. Not saying scared, but I don't want to say scared because sometimes you are scared depending on the situation. Sure. It's natural fear. But I mean more of the comfortability. Like actually walking down those stairs and knowing what you're going to see. I mean, I'd see some guys that are just really nervous. And you could tell it. Where'd you grow up, man? Why did you take this job? It's
the first time I've ever been in the woods, man. I don't know what's this grass. That's what grass is? What
seriously, buddy. It's like it's going to be like working in a farm or whatever, and you've never ever seen what grass looks like. It's crazy. How can you... They have some cops who are housing cops have never ever stepped foot in a project building before. You can get killed, man. Some of the most dangerous places in New York City are the projects. If you've never been in there, you don't know the secret tunnels. There's a garbage chute that maybe they hide guns. There's so many dangers in there. Yeah. And you're going in there with never being in there. For me, that's like ridiculous. I don't know, because you're just going to get yourself killed. They don't have the...
Do they not have a standard? For
if you pass everything, I guess it's you're okay. But I feel like it should be more of an interview process. You got a little bit of an attitude, because everybody in New York has an attitude, especially criminals. They'll tell you just go fuck yourself. Excuse me, sir. Fuck you. That's it. Full uniform. Fuck yourself. What are you gonna do? Like you're there as a cop. Well, okay, thank you. Like no, you gotta now. Do you know how to enforce the law now? Do you know how to stop someone and be like? Can you stop a 6'8" guy who just told you to go fuck yourself? That's got tattoos all over his face. That's mentally ill. That maybe has PCP. What do you do? Like you have to have been around these situations, or at least the job doesn't train that. They just everything is by the book. It's all about you're a lawyer, right? So you understand it's more about saving them money. It's more about saving them money and the hasslement of lawsuits against the department and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to. Hey man, train this officer correctly so he can defuse the situation, or at least not be scared to pull his gun out right away and shoot. That happened in the project building, actually. I believe I was on the job. It was this Asian cop. He was in the middle of East New York, tough neighborhood, one of the most toughest probably in New York City. He's walking through the pink houses and he heard the door slam And he's never heard a door slam. I don't know. But it shook him up, and he shot, and he killed the guy. The bullet ricocheted and killed this guy coming out to throw the garbage or something like that.
Oh, because he was so jumpy.
He was so jumpy. He's never been in a project building, and you have to do verticals. So you have to go. A lot of crime happens in those stairwells. I've never worked housing, but I've been in those buildings as a civilian and then as a cop, and I know the dangers that come there. Airmail too. They throw things from the windows and the roofs, sinks, refrigerators, stuff that could kill you. Right. You have to be cognizant of your surroundings. So if you're in the building now and it's midnight, you're doing a vertical patrol, which means you have to walk all the way to the top and then come down stair by stair, make sure everything is good. I mean, that's intimidating in a project building. You're out, you have your gun out while you're doing this. One little thing and you're shooting. Right. So if you're jumpy and if you don't have that kind of sense of security about yourself, then you're in the wrong job. And it was on full display when that guy got killed.
You see that nationally, I think. Not just obviously that's a very unique instance.
You talking about the Secret Service lady, or?
I mean, the Secret Service lady is one, but how many of those times have you seen someone and they're like, there was one in Tulsa, it was a reserve deputy. There was one, I think there were two in Tulsa actually. There was a female. The Acorn one, where they'll yell taser, 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 and
tase the partner.
No, they pull their duty weapon and they shoot them because instead of I'm sure your department was the same. Your taser's on one side. If you're left-handed, it's on your right. If you're right-handed, it's on your left.
Non-dominant hand.
Right. The idea is like you can't, right? Because muscle memory versus taser, and they're shooting people. The worst one was this guy was already in cuffs, so he probably didn't even need to get tased. But this dude was like. He was a rich guy that paid money to like donate to the department, and he was a reserve deputy, so he'd go on calls. He was just retired, whatever, feeling cool.
Auxiliary kind of guy.
Yeah. And he shoots a dude with a .38 and killed him. Taser, taser, taser. Bah! Oh shit. And it's the same stuff. And it's just because they're not trained how to deal with that particular heightened state of adrenaline, that particular heightened state of, discomfort, anxiety, fear, whatever word you want to use.
Well said.
But the same position is like you didn't know, your body didn't know how to react without your mind.
Correct. And as a cop, they expect us to be Superman. You have to make that split-second decision.
Sure.
Luckily for me, I've only taken my gun out once. It was a carjacking right in the middle of Queens Boulevard in Kew Gardens. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, bumper-to-bumper traffic.
PM?
Yeah. New York City traffic. What fucking genius would decide to carjack a car on the fucking Van Wyck interchange? Van Wyck is probably the most busiest interchange in the whole country. And he decides, three guys, that neighborhood, as nice and expensive as it is, sometimes you get a lot of riffraff because the court's there. You got Queens Court, and then you got Queens, the bookings. So you have all the criminal. Everybody that gets arrested in Queens comes through that court. I mean, John Gotti went through that court. We're talking about every single criminal that gets arrested goes through
the song Down for Whatever by Ice Cube?
I know Ice Cube.
The beginning, it says, inside the mind of a carjacker. And you hear Ice Cube, damn, my feet hurt. And this bitch is slipping.
Yeah.
So it's probably something like that, right? They're like, you know what? I'm getting sick of walking. That guy's on his phone. Fuck him.
It's like Menace to Society style. Yeah, just like that.
He's a famous NYC detective, right? In Law and Order. Ice Cube.
No, that's Ice-T.
Ice-T. Yeah.
My bad. LA versus New York.
Two totally different pieces of ice.
Different flavors
totally
of
different
ice.
kinds of ice.
Different flavors of ice.
Yeah, but it's fucking stupid when you say that, but I don't know why that triggered in my head, because when I heard that song when I was a kid, it came out in 93, I just looked it up. But when I heard that, I was like, it's definitely in the middle of a city, and like you're listening to the song and you're imagining what's happening,
right.
And he's just seeing this car slow roll, and he's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to take him. So it's crazy. Like, where are they going to go? You get in the car and then you sit in traffic.
They weren't going anywhere, I'll tell you that, because like I was just telling Shane, Queens Boulevard, as nice as the area is, when you get out of that court, and we would see it all the time, it's so hilarious because they get out and they commit crimes right away. And we called it a honeypot because we would wait for them to get out and they'd have no money, no shoelaces, and they'd jump the turnstile. So it's like you're committing a fucking crime as soon as you get out. It probably costs for me to stop you and see what's going on.
Sure.
But in this particular instance, I don't know if they got out of bookings or what their deal was, but they carjacked this lady, comes over, it's confirmed. We're literally a block away. But with the traffic, we ain't moving. So we're like, what the fuck do we do here?
Just casually walk over there and they're still there.
The slowest chase in
history.
You
don't even have to break a sweat.
So we're able to like get on this little side of the grass by the Grand Central, We're coming around, I forget the street, but it's like 1 block off of Queens Boulevard. And now we see one guy runs across the highway, like a fucking jumps. Like I don't even know what he's like, a gazelle. He was so graceful with this jump. Jumps over the fence, gets down the little marsh, boom, 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 like Frogger, gets to the other side. So it's easier for us to get to the other side than Queens Boulevard. We hop around to the other side. We see him go in the building, take out our guns, get into the building, run. You could hear, running up the stairs or whatever, right? And then, boom. So obviously there's a door. We ran, got to the door. He was gone. Gone. Detectives usually follow up later with that. I believe they caught 2 of the guys on scene. I didn't follow up with that. That was it wasn't a transit thing. Obviously, it was a topside thing. We were just heading back to the precinct when the call came over. When something like that happens, it goes over citywide. So yeah, they caught 2 of them on the scene, but that guy that we chased actually got away. I don't know if they ever caught him, but just the mentality of these guys.
But you drew your weapon because of the circumstances.
Yeah,
because going into the building, you need to have it out.
I don't want to. I can't remember if it said that they were armed, but anybody who does commits a felony, violent carjacking, I'm most likely going to take out my weapon.
Sure.
Depends. I try not to, like I said, because I wasn't scared of a lot of things. Like I knew guys had weapons on them. I would see it, like a knife. I arrested a guy with a fucking samurai sword once that was he was a kid. He was headed somewhere to kill someone. He was going to kill his stepfather. It's crazy, crazy story. It was a whole PINS case, persons in need of supervision. It was a wild story. But How old was he? He was 14.
Jesus.
Oh,
yeah.
That's sad.
What was his stepdad doing?
So I'll tell you the story. Just getting back to what I was saying, I wasn't like intimidated to be in these places. So when I would see someone, I have a lot of knives collars, a lot of weapons collars. So I could just tell when somebody has a weapon. It was just my thing. And a lot of the times the criminals, they would tap it just to see if they had it. And that was like a telltale sign I learned in the street. So I used that in my police, my police career. And it never dawned on me to be like, wow, a knife is really dangerous. It really is. It's a killing distance of, I think you need 21 feet to be safe from a knife. Like if somebody comes at you with a knife, it's very dangerous.
21-foot rules saying that if they're less than 21 feet from you and they have it out and you don't have your weapon out, you're going to lose.
You're going to die. Exactly. So I don't know. I would just get right close to people and not have to take my gun out. I mean, I'm confident in what I could do and handle myself, but even so, nobody's going to win against a knife. You grab someone, cut your hand open. So I never really had to take my gun out. I felt the need. I worked with a lot of guys who fucking every week they'd be like, yeah, we had to take our guns out. I'm like, why? Like, why
is there nervous? Not a different directive in the subway considering how dense it is?
In regards to?
Collateral. So like,
no?
Even with a 9mm, I mean, you hit him in the shoulder, it's going to be a through and through. Whoever's behind him's getting hit too.
Rules of engagement apply to New York City in general.
So it doesn't matter where you're at.
It doesn't matter where you are.
And that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. And because I just imagine that your ROE is going to be a little different, potentially. Like if you were at a concert, for example, just because, and the subway is, comparable to that, but also you're in confined space.
Right.
It's all concrete. There's so many different factors that I imagine would change things. But it does make sense. Like, hey, we have a standard. If it's good enough for lethal force, it's good enough for lethal force.
The funny thing is that they change that when they feel like it, because you're supposed to shoot center mass, and then there's a silhouette that they give you in the academy when you go to the range that used to have 4 images on it. One would obviously be one you don't shoot, and then the other one would be ones that you would shoot. Guy with a gun, guy with a bat. Now, the bat thing actually came up in real life in the Bronx. There was a sergeant who I believe tased a emotionally disturbed woman. She was an older woman, and I don't know if that worked, but she came at him with a bat. He shot her. Sounds like a good shoot to me. I mean, you're coming at me with a bat. They teach me in the academy, if you don't shoot that person with a bat, you fail this training exercise. So that means, okay, I'm equating academy to real life situation. Somebody comes at me with a bat. I shoot them. I kill them. I'm going to be covered in qualified immunity. I'll be okay and everything. They didn't cover that, Sergeant. He got charged. Yeah, it was
what
pretty bad.
What did they charge him with?
I think they fired him, man. I don't know what they charged him with, but there was a big uproar. It was around the time of all the BLM movements, I think. It was around that time, so it was a lot of political sway and public sway towards that way. But yeah, he got jammed up because of that bad. So that's terrible.
So I know that
so
New York
they change the rules when they kind of feel like it, I guess, which kind of sucks. But
follows the model penal code, and that model penal code's a little different with respect to self-defense, right? So here it's stand your ground. So if I'm in a place that I'm legally allowed to be, I don't have a duty to retreat. in New York, let's say we're in this room, for example, and someone comes in with a gun. I got nowhere to go. I'm allowed to immediately defend myself with lethal force. So I wonder if maybe they applied that to him. Like, okay, she has a bat. Because I guarantee you the message is not, oh, a bat's not lethal force. It definitely fucking is. But maybe he could have just turned around and walked away. Or whatever, right? Maybe, because I'm thinking I don't know why they would have done that. That sounds crazy to me.
It's just politics, man. It's
politics. Too. At that time.
It's at the end of the day, it's politics. That it influenced it so much that they took the silhouette away in the academy. So there you go.
Did they defund you guys at all?
During that, yeah, the defund the police. Don't forget, the NYPD is like a small city. I mean, in itself, it's a New York City Police Department, but they have a budget of at that time, I believe it was $6 billion. Now, yeah,
per year,
I believe so.
What the fuck?
Look it up just to check or whatever. But what
that's
their
higher
budget
than
is,
the GDP of like
a lot.
Countries.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean. It's like a small country. Now I think it's reduced to 5. They reduced it during the defund the police. They reduced it about 20%. It's either 4 and change or 5.
NYPD's budget is presented in the financial plan as $5.8 billion.
There you go. 5.8.
What the fuck?
I told you.
Annual budget with fringe benefits and everything is $11 billion. Okay, so let's see. How many countries under $6 billion GDP?
There's 40 countries that have a GDP of less than $6 billion.
I told you. So I mean, they have the manpower, they have all the resources, but it's just
that's crazy.
It's mismanaged, if you ask me.
So I'm libertarian.
You love the government.
I hate the government for that reason. Not that I hate the government in themselves. I just hate that it seems like everything that we do, especially once it gets big, it's such a cumbersome process to try and fit it to people and all that it never works right. The federal government is a good example, right? Look at all this waste, fraud, and abuse that they're finding. Whether or not all of it's true, it doesn't matter. They're finding all this stuff with USAID where they were just approving this random shit and there's no checks and balances on it to say, oh, this is something that definitely, for this particular purpose, is going to influence our interests in natural resources, in energy conservation, in whatever, right? They're just like, oh, you got this company? Sure, $2 billion, right? And on the federal level, that's nothing. $2 billion is a drop in the bucket.
Right.
They don't even care. That's not even a drop. It's
Right.
a fraction of a drop. But really, it should be something they give a shit about. So that's why I have a problem with that sort of stuff.
I can agree with you on that. I mean, government misspending is a big topic right now in the news.
Sure.
So we're breaking all our rules by talking to cops. We have this mug over
I
here
forgot to say that. Normally we don't talk to cops.
That even says don't talk to cops. You're not a current officer. That's our advice always.
Let me tell you something.
For people.
I mean, everybody asks me like, "Oh, what side you on?" Like, I don't bleed blue. Okay, I don't. I bleed who bleeds for me.
Sure.
Okay, so if I got to take care of the public and the cop is doing something wrong, I'm gonna take care of the public. So if I see that cop trying to coerce an individual, keep your mouth shut. I have no problem saying that.
How many of your cases, and put it in a percentage, right, would be made, or you'd get the probable cause you needed to do the search that you'd find the contraband, the weapon, whatever, because someone spoke to you? Like, not even being rude, fuck you, whatever you're going to do, but like, no, I'm not going to answer questions.
Like spontaneous utterance, like they're just out.
Yeah, they just say something. They see you and they panic, the same version of a police officer panicking, but their version of panicking is just word vomiting, thinking they're going to get out of it, and then they end up hanging themselves.
Yeah, it happens often.
Do you think it was more than half your cases?
No. I'd say probably about a quarter to 30%, somewhere around there, where people would, they try to curry favor with you. They figure if they tell you a little something right there, you're out. But sometimes it would work depending on what it was. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if they tell me, if I just caught you for something petty, like jumping a turnstile, and you're like, I can get you guns, like, all right, now we'll talk. If you're like, I just jumped the turnstile and they just start blabbing and this and that, and you look at their record and they're wanted for some real bad shit, and I don't care what you say at that point.
Right.
You're just trying to talk me out of arresting you, pretty much.
Right. You just don't want me to run your
exactly.
Run your idea or whatever.
And when I was working, we didn't have phones. They just started trying to implement the phone, so you used to have to run everything over the radio. So when we would run over the radio, we would just get codes. So sometimes you didn't know the kind of guy you were dealing with. You could have an escaped prisoner, a murderer. You have no idea. Everybody rides a subway system.
Sure.
So it's different at that point.
I always thought it was interesting. Like the first time I went to New York, I remember, being from Kansas thinking, man, everybody here is going to be fucking mean.
Did you click your heels and try to go back?
I did. It didn't work. It just sucked. I was like, shit, I'm stuck. No, but dude, I got lost. I think I was on the L and everybody was so friendly. Like I'm sitting there just like, what the fuck? And this old guy comes up to me and goes, you're not from here, are you? I was like, no, sir, I'm not. I don't know where the fuck I'm going. He's like, where are you trying to get to? And I told him, he's like, oh, no, don't take that one. It's down right now. Take this one to this one. I was like, dude, it broke all the stereotypes that I had in my head for how everybody was going to be. Granted, I had my head on a swivel and I wasn't getting anybody's way, but I'm thinking, fuck, I'm screwed. I'm not even going to bother asking. And this old dude who just like saw me looking at like I didn't know English or something, he came up and asked me a question. I mean, that's the look I guarantee you. I was like, what the fuck? Because, it's just lines
You can spot
and
a
numbers.
tourist from a mile away. When
Yeah, sure. And maybe that's why he was nice to me, was because, hey, you're not from here. Let me be kind or whatever.
We
But
just try to avoid them in Vegas. Just all the tourists.
fuck
They're
the
all
tourists
on
here,
the
dude.
strip, so we
fuck
don't.
the tourists. The worst part is that, like, I'll come up to a light and it's red, and you can see that the traffic walk sign is going to change, and they know it. It'll turn green, and then they step
And
out.
there you
I'm
go,
like,
yeah.
especially like if you're trying to leave the Bellagio.
I was just gonna say, it happens all the time when they cross the Paris Bellagio, that little intersect, well, the Aria or Cosmo, whatever that
Dude,
is.
and
Oh,
then
it's the Cosmo, yeah.
That light's so
Cosmo
fast.
to Planet Hollywood, that light, they literally, you got to just wait there.
Yeah.
It
Pisses me the
reminds
fuck
me of
off.
42nd Street in a way.
The bridges are nice. The
And when you
bridges are
honk
nice.
at them, they flip you off.
Yeah.
And it's like, bitch, I could run you over. I mean, granted, I'd get in trouble, but like, car beats pedestrian 100% of the time.
Hey, I'm with you on that one.
So, what do you think about, or what do you know about Metro? Like, as far as their policies or how they handle things, do you know anything? I mean, I'm sure you're outside the loop, but you've
Yeah, I'm very outside the loop in regards to Las Vegas policing. I've met some guys out here. When I first came out here, like I said, I have the show now on YouTube. But before I did that, I didn't really tell anybody that I was a retired cop. I just kind of was just doing my thing out here. I've been coming to Vegas for a long time. So when I retired, I kind of just made the transition out here. But I had spoken to some guys who actually do undercover work in the hotel. I met them through a doctor friend of mine. And he's like, oh, one of my good buddies, he's undercover actually right now. Let's go see him. So we went to go hang out with him, talk to him for a little bit.
dude, undercovers out here do some of the wildest shit.
Yeah, you know what? Here they blend in better because everybody here looks like a tourist.
Sure.
So it's like in New York, if you're in a shitty neighborhood, you're not just going to be standing around there. You kind of have to find someone that blends into that particular neighborhood.
So I probably wouldn't work in Jamaica.
You're not going to work in Jamaica. You see you in the South Bronx. I don't know. Maybe they think you own one of the buildings or something.
Maybe. Yeah. Do you think that you blended in well whenever you were playing close?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just a subway, so that's whatever. Anybody I feel
It's
like
a
can blend
subway.
in
My
there.
look too, like I look like a Dominican, so like, and I speak Spanish, so I could talk with.
What are you?
I'm half Italian, half Mexican.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
So
Get that racially ambiguous look.
yeah, I mean, I grew up around a lot of Italian Americans. I mean, that was like my mother's side. That's where I am, and Queens. So I had that influence, but I was in the street a lot. So in the street, I hung out with a lot of Latinos, blacks, kind of people that are in the street. At that time, at least in my neighborhood, and then. Not in my neighborhood so much, but more towards like Corona, where I would be a lot. I hung out all over the place. I spent a lot of time in Washington Heights. It was just a really fun place to be. If you go to New York now and you really want a New York feeling, it's still got a little bit of heart and soul. Washington Heights is still a good place. You can get robbed on one block, but then get like wheatgrass on the other.
Farmer's market,
Yeah.
armed robbery.
Bodega that sells illegal weed,
You can get
things like
Lucy's
that.
there still?
You can still get Lucy's, yeah, sure.
The fucking Eric Garner thing.
Yeah.
that was the big
Yeah,
one.
that's actually what started changing.
Yeah.
That's what it
That's what it
was.
is, yeah, that's
That
right.
It wasn't the other one we were talking about.
George
It was,
Floyd.
yeah.
Eric
It was
Garner, I remember
Eric
that one
Garner.
was a
That
big
was
deal.
a big thing in New York. And then after that is when the whole department started changing, and that's when they actually got defunded somewhere around there. It
Yeah.
all started with that, and then it just kind of.
Yeah, the optics of that one were not good, I don't think. And it's weird, man, right? Because I kind of toe the line on both sides of it. I have like a respect for authority background type thing. I was in the military, but at the same time, I'm also kind of sort of anti-negative power structures. So I have kind of a mixed bag of feelings. Yes, he was doing something stupid. Is it probably a financial crime because of tax laws that I don't think should probably exist in the first place? Also, yes. But at the same time, it should have been simple. Just fucking shut up You'll go in, you'll get right out, whatever. They're not going to hold you in there. They have more important shit to worry about.
Right.
So it's like you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, then you make it worse by resisting. But also the cop fucking probably should have just, I don't know, man. It's super tough. And the optics of that one were awful. Because hearing that dude saying, but I'm sure everybody says that. They get like a case of incarceritis, like, oh, I'm having a heart attack. And then you check them out and they're fine.
It's the first thing that they say. I can't breathe or help me, all this kind of shit, whatever. Yeah. And usually it's a tactic. I'm sure, I don't want to say, but maybe he did have pre-existing health conditions. So maybe he couldn't breathe. But
he was having a heart attack. That's what it was.
Who knows?
It wasn't that
maybe initially he could breathe and just played that like, I can't breathe. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh shit, really, I can't breathe.
Right.
Now I can't breathe. Maybe it was something like that. I don't know. But if you look at the one thing that got me about that video is that there's a difference between actively resisting and passively resisting.
Sure.
Okay? Actively resisting, fuck you. I'm not going or whatever, right? Passive is just, wiggling out like this. You got your hand on me. I'm just doing this kind of thing.
Or put your hands behind your back. No.
Yeah.
And I'm just staying tense.
Passive
Why
resisting.
are you tensing up?
Yeah.
I'm not tense.
I'm just not
doing that. Yeah.
That's it. So in his instance, if you look at the video, I remember this. When the initial officer, Pantaleo was his name, or the other guy, they go to grab his arm, okay, and he does this. To me, that's a resist. You're resisting now. He does it was quick. You have to watch, you have to maybe slow it down, but he's got his hands up like this, and he does like one of these. Like as soon as I go to grab you, and you do anything besides go the way that I'm going with your hand, to me that's resisting, and now I can totally use my use of force against you.
Sure.
Now, I don't want to speak on the use of force. They banned chokeholds, but if you look at the cop who was taking him down, even though there was a few of them, and you look at Eric Gardner, he outweighed him by like 200 something pounds. So,
and he was quite a bit bigger this way as well.
And he was taller than him. So try to get a guy like that down just on a normal. It's a little tough. But you got him down. There was other ways to do it, I think, besides just holding him at that point once he was down. Because now you have other, you can grab his legs, you put his legs, his arms. There's so many other ways that he could have did that. But, I don't want to Monday morning quarterback this thing. I'm just saying, who knows what I would have done if I was in that situation, Who knows what these rookies would have done, like I just said, maybe they would have shot him. Maybe he would have went like this and they would have been like, boom, like Clint Eastwood style, real quick. You never know.
I mean, it's probably better that one didn't happen because that would have got so much worse.
But that kind of set a precedent for everything that's been going on in the city as far as the weak political leadership. They're just scared to offend certain people and just scared to just, enact certain laws that we need in order to make everyone safe, not just a particular group.
And the thing that sucks the most about these cases, and I've seen this said by other political commentators or whatever, it's like, yes, there is a problem in police nationally, I think. I think everybody could agree that on some level, you and I are probably going to disagree about what the level of problem is, but there is a problem. There are things that could be fixed. With every organization, with the law, with me. I mean, there's things I could do better as a person. So I'm going to say that any human organization is the same way. That being said, the defund the police people, the left, if you want to make it political, which it's not necessarily like that. I know plenty of conservatives who are on the same page. They are going too far. They're saying like, oh, this is an epidemic and police officers are just choking people to death all day, or they're shooting unarmed, pick a race disproportionately. It's simply not true.
It's propaganda. It's to win the hearts and minds of whoever they're,
but the issue is
want their vote the next
that they're misinformed at that point.
I believe so.
Both sides need to come this direction, but the problem point isn't here or there, right? Police maybe could figure out a new tactic, whatever.
Right.
Yes, people are doing things that they shouldn't be doing, right? Like that guy, once they said, hey, you're going into custody, he should have been like, all right, right? Two wrongs don't make a right. But the problem I have with it is that like the message gets so confused, you can't have an intelligent conversation.
I agree with you.
And that's the biggest issue.
But what you want is like, I guess what we all want, like a perfect world where we can have a meeting of the minds and everybody's like, okay. And I think that sometimes people have personal agendas that go against that. And even they might not just like the person, and just be like, well, I'm not going to agree with you because of, I just don't like your face or whatever. Stupid shit.
I get that all the time. I don't know why.
Stupid face.
Got one of those fucking faces. But this goes right back to and I know I'm kind of tongue-in-cheek joking with this, but this goes back to the small amount of hands-on. Like maybe if that cop would have been able to just slap the shit out of him and be like, listen, you want me to do it again? Or do you want to come with me?
That's the way it was back in the day, right? In the 60s, like that's how the brown bag came around with the beers. because it was disrespectful, right? If you drank a beer like in front of a cop or something like that, so he'd be like, hey,
Oh, that was back when you could have a roadie and
cover that up.
It wasn't a
it
crime.
It was something, I forget the myth about it, or if it was actually a law.
You've seen that video.
Yeah.
They didn't make driving while drinking, just not being drunk, but driving and drinking at the same time until like the mid 80s or some shit.
I remember growing up, and they would say, my cousin's a comedian. He puts this in his stand-up. It's hilarious. He's like, when I was growing up, they used to say, hey, have one for the road.
Yeah.
That's the way it was. Like, here, have one to go. Like, people would drink before they actually got into the fucking car.
Obviously.
It's like,
Well, you
it's
don't- you need to
mind
pull
blowing.
over
Like
from
now,
when you leave to when you
today,
get
or
home.
whatever, you can have two, and not even maybe one, and get pulled over, and you're fucked. You know, it's like
Missouri has a one down law. So if we were all in a vehicle and we pull, there's liquor stores you can pull up to and they got a drive-through window, we could get 3 margaritas. As long as I'm not drinking one, they'll just hand them to you. Like you can have one, you can have one, you can have one, but as long as I don't have one, it's not an open container.
Really?
Yeah, certain states are different with that.
yeah.
Do we got a listener question?
I think we have the one from I put it in last week about, and it applies to both of you because you guys are both on YouTube.
Who's you?
You guys and then both have.
You guys.
Us guys.
Use
Yuns. That's how we say
the
it.
two
where I'm from.
U's.
Yuns.
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 I don't see it, dude.
All right, 1 second.
Why don't you just say it out loud, Austin, with your mouth computer?
Can I be sued for something I said in a YouTube video or podcast?
Yes. Short answer, yes.
Can you?
Sure.
In what regards?
Oh man, there's lots of different ones.
If I say, well, if you, I guess inciting a riot or something like
Yeah,
that, but
that's
I was
the
just
obvious
like, yo, I
stuff.
don't like your face because people tell you that. Like,
That's an opinion.
that's
so
different. Yeah.
Well,
So-
here's the thing that people always say: can you be sued? Anybody can sue you.
Right.
Yeah, like that. You
Is
can
it
be
grounds
sued
for
for
a lawsuit,
anything.
though,
Is
for-
it grounds? It's probably something that would get dismissed if you said somebody had an ugly face.
Okay.
Right.
But
But
it's subjective.
even giving a good motion to dismiss is a difficult, thing to do, and you have to have a good legal argument and probably through an attorney. Not just go to the court and like call them and say, "Hey, like this is horrible." It's like, no, you got to file a motion for that.
Right.
That's your responsibility. So you can be sued if you say something false about somebody. Like when we're talking about defamation.
I
Slander,
was just gonna
libel.
say, yes. slander,
Yeah.
right.
So it's saying something false about somebody that hurts their image.
And it has to be quantifiable, but it doesn't matter, right? Like if you say, "Hey, Justin's the shittiest lawyer in Las Vegas. Anybody who spends their money over there, useless." You got one YouTube follower, one person that watches your thing. Doesn't probably cause me any real harm.
Right.
Did you say something about me that damages my reputation and character potentially? But what's the actual harm to me?
Right.
Alex Jones, though, right? Like, his
He got
his is the
what was it, like
example,
50
right?
billion or some fucking
Some huge.
That was just a message they sent to him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You're finished.
So
I'm gonna
and
look it
that's
up.
and that's saying
I-
something demonstrably false.
How
too.
about-
Sorry,
How
it was
about-
965 million. But still, fuck me, man.
How are you going to recover? I mean, he could, but it's a long way up. How about if someone left a YouTube comment saying something slanderous on your page? Is that grounds for a lawsuit?
It can be, yeah,
Potentially.
yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
yeah. It's difficult to find anonymous
So-
commenters, but
And you guys will probably get a lot of business from that because people leave comments all over the place that have no basis for anything.
Yeah, well, the
I'm
other
sure
problem is you
people-
can't get blood from a stone.
That's true.
So the rules here, and I looked it up. So what you're talking about is libel. Written is libel, spoken is slander.
Gotcha.
They all fall under the umbrella of defamation. And it's a false statement of fact about you, unprivileged publication to a third party. Because if it's just me and you, and I write you a letter, it doesn't qualify. And with this, it's just like elements in a criminal case, all have to be met.
Right.
Negligently, recklessly, or intentionally, and the result of the statement's reputation damaged. So he says you're not from there. It's a false statement of fact. I published it to a bunch of other people, satisfied that. Did it on purpose. That satisfies the intentional, but did it actually hurt you? Did people say, "Oh, well, you're right. He's not from there. What a fucking fraud. I'm not going to listen to him no more." Probably not.
No.
what's the money amount of that
Yeah.
that you have to have somebody?
So what's
say?
it? What was that one? Amber Heard.
Yeah,
Yeah, Johnny Depp. That shit. Right? Johnny Depp was able to prove.
he didn't get a specific job, right? He
Yeah.
got fired from like the Harry Potter movies or whatever.
Pirates.
And Pirates, they didn't do another Pirates.
The Grimwalds, or whatever the fuck it was called. The Harry Potter,
Yeah.
Fantastical Beasts. Yeah, that
he
shit.
got fired from a few different things. So he could actually put a number. My
Yeah.
contract was going to be, 10, 15 million here. My contract was going to be that.
And it's not speculative because it's like, oh, my last 4 movies, I made this. I was getting 10% extra each movie.
And now all of a sudden.
And now,
yeah.
oh, they're not going to hire you because she said that you beat her. but it turns out she took a dump in your bed.
So it's
Do you remember that shit?
Yeah, I remember.
It's literally that.
I was actually glad to see a male actually win in court when you see somebody getting accused of things like that, especially nowadays.
I mean, the studies show that men do better in court than women normally. Like the studies behind
in that
instance,
show, when women claim all this kind of stuff.
I don't think in those like.
I kind of
generally
feel like
speaking,
they're very
yes.
geared. Sorry, they're very geared towards women or favorable towards women. You know, in my opinion, I don't know.
It depends. Like in every context, it depends. Women do worse in like self-defense arguments. We've seen studies of that. Women usually get less in like personal injury suits too. Just juries don't like women as much. It seems like, but
it's interesting.
Yeah. So,
but on the other side, especially, and you look at it from like a social movement perspective, the Me Too stuff. Right? It depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about a situation also where you're at in the country where the woman is claiming A, B, or C, if C happens to be the hot button thing of the time, she's going to win.
It makes sense.
And it has nothing to do with the man-woman thing.
Yeah,
it has everything to do with where we're at socially.
Right.
What was that guy's name? That fucking, he's I always want to say Brian Banks, but I don't think so. He was a #1 rated college or high school recruit for D1. Like he was going to go pro. Girl claims that he raped her in the stairs.
Oh yeah,
he lost
everything.
No, he didn't even get to college. He didn't even get to go to college. He was a high
lost
school.
the chance to go.
And he was like
Yeah.
he was like I don't remember how they rate it in high school to go to D1. It's like stars or some shit.
Yeah.
But he was top rated. He goes, takes a deal, does like 5 or 6 years for rape, gets out, has the wherewithal to record her, and she apologizes.
about lying.
About lying. And
Yeah,
it's like,
making it up.
But the reason he took the deal is because the lawyer's like, bro, you're going to fucking lose. You got this big, athletic black dude, pretty blonde girl. She's saying it happened. It's your word versus hers. And it's like, dude, when I say that shit out loud, it gives me goosebumps because it's so fucked.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we've all been accused of doing something we didn't do. It's simple like, oh, you broke the window. No, it was you. He did it. And your dad's like, oh, you fucking broke the window. And it's like, I didn't fucking do it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you'd say if you did do it. Well, it's also what I'd say if I didn't.
do it. Yeah,
Right,
I know.
yeah, so it's-
Why do you sound so guilty? It's like, because I'm trying to plead my fucking case here.
Right,
Like,
because
you know?
I'm, and I can't even fucking imagine.
Dude.
So in that instance, I think the women, which,
Is there
again,
any
I'm torn.
Is there any recourse for that though? Like,
He sued her. They ended up getting a judgment out of it.
but can she do jail time for making
For a
false statements? Or
There
Yes.
is, but those seem to be rarely.
that's what I
It's-
mean.
but
But
it's-
there
it's
needs
always-
to be kind of some kind of pursuit against that.
It's
to
always a
try to-
double-edged sword, right? Because think of, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here. She makes a false statement. Okay. He gets a recording. Without the recording, I wouldn't know in the first place. But he gets a recording, you find all this stuff out. They prosecute her.
Okay.
Then you are dissuading real victims from coming forward who are already sometimes under pressure. And so that's why it's such a double-edged sword. And I agree with you.
You make a good
it's
point.
super hard because on the one hand, you've got innocent dudes that are going to get fucking railroaded and have their lives ruined. And I'm not talking about people like him who had an exceptionally bright future. But what about John Q. Public,
Average
who's
Joe, yeah.
just going to get to go to work and have a kid and live his life?
Right.
But instead he goes to Rikers or whatever. Versus, you got these women who maybe couldn't come out because it was a family member or someone who was in a position of power. And now they're like, they were scared before, but now they're terrified.
Right.
Because, oh shit, what if they don't believe me and then he gets out and I go to prison for it? I don't know what goes through those people's mind. So it's super, super complicated. There is no bright line rule there that's going to work.
That he said, she said stuff is got to be handled better, man. I don't know. As far as
We just need to
investigative
institute the police
tactics.
state.
Look at Mike Tyson. Out of all the crazy shit that he's done, remember when he went to jail for rape back in the 90s? He said, like, I did not rape that girl.
Yeah.
Like all the crazy shit that he admits to actually doing. It's like, knocking people out when he's 15, taking their shit. He's like admitting to like some serious stuff. He's actually admitted. I think he was sexually abused. Like,
he had a crazy life.
He's admitted a lot of crazy stuff. So why wouldn't he admit that if he did it? He did jail time for it. I've seen many interviews him say, "I didn't rape that girl."
And he did,
fucked
what
up.
was it, 4 or 5 years for that, right?
Bro, that ruined his heart. He lost $400 million contract with HBO. He was going to fight Holyfield back then.
Right, but when he
they're
got
talking
out-
a lot of money.
When Mike got out from compared to when he went in, bro, he was a fucking destructive animal.
Yeah,
like he
but
was a monster.
He was a monster,
Yeah.
but he wasn't the same Tyson, man. He was just bigger, but he wasn't the same
He
Tyson.
was still knocking motherfuckers out when he got out.
Well,
no, but
what
400
do you
million.
have? 2 fights when he got out of jail?
I think so.
That's nothing. We had
No,
warm-up
that's true.
fights because they wanted to set him up for Holyfield. And look what
Sure.
happened. The
He's
first
still fighting,
Holyfield
though.
knocked him out in the 11th round.
Hey, he just made a bunch of money off Jake
He's
Paul.
still fighting.
And
Oh, he came back. He
and I got to see his ass on national TV. Did you guys fucking see that? That cameraman needs to fucking have his job taken.
At one
It's what we wanted.
It's America's ass.
Oh, what do you mean? What we wanted? Oh!
He's younger. He's younger. They go both ways. There are no lines. But on this side, there's a line.
He had said, I will never not owe the government money. To actually see him thriving with his marijuana company and making
Yeah, he's doing
hundreds of
great.
millions again, it's fantastic to see, man.
My favorite thing with him is, and it's because I love
So
Hezbollah,
genuine. I love the guy.
is the time that he was with Hezbollah. You know who that is?
Yeah, the little guy.
Little Dagestani guy, and he
Picked him
thought
up.
he was a baby. He's like, and Hezbollah's like,
Yeah,
let me
he's
go.
like, what are you doing?
fucking
He's
go."
like,
Yeah,
no. He's like trying to tell him. Yeah.
Dude, I fucking love that. It's so
Put
wholesome.
that
So
video
nice.
in, Austin.
Yes, please clip that right there.
Cue that one. Pull up that clip.
I mean, I feel like we're definitely gonna have to have you on again sometime. You live here, right?
Yeah, I live in
Perfect.
Vegas now.
Because I've got so many
Yeah.
questions I want to talk to about. Like, maybe we could run you through some like instances, and you give us your opinion as a police officer.
Sure.
Because there are certain corruption things, or not even just corruption, but just like use of forces that are crazy. Like, do you remember the police officer that was shooting through his windshield here in Vegas in Northtown?
I
He
saw
was in the middle
but
of a
I
high
don't
speed
know
pursuit, just
yeah.
bop, 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 bop. Stuff like that. I
They
think
train us for that though in the academy. That's
Yeah,
that's
why
like a
not?
normal thing. It
Yeah,
could
it's
happen,
super
especially
normal.
out here. I don't
Yeah,
know
super
the
normal.
academy out here. Yeah,
Yeah, for
if
sure.
they train us for that in New York City, I would be shocked if they didn't train it. The department out here for that.
The one thing that they do have out here, I know because I dated a girl who was a cop that worked in this thing when I first got out here. It's basically like a casino, but it's the size of a high school gym, and so it's got slot machines and all this stuff, lights, people, actors, all this crap, and it's use of force continuum. And it's one of the, and I don't know the name of it. I used to know the name of it, but it's one of like the top rated in the country because it's super immersive, 3D. They get in there like, and you don't know where the gun is. You don't know, there might not even be one.
Right.
Right. And it's training people, the police officers. So I do like that they're doing that because I think that's what you need. Right. You get your reps, you run the plays, you figure it out. And then when it comes time, you don't even have to think. You just do the right
A lot
thing.
of it is muscle memory too, and like I was just saying, if you've never been in a project building, your initial reaction is going to be scared because of the reputation of what goes down in the projects, right? So if you're walking in, you have no idea what you're walking into. However, if you had a mock situation, they have tactical village, they'll give you like a little apartment, but it doesn't equate. So
Sure.
if they had like a mock thing, like you're saying, or something like that, where a cop
There's
could
got to be an
actually
old building that
navigate.
they could say,
there's tons
this
of
is
them.
our training building.
There's tons of them. The facility that they have now, that's been there forever, is in a little section of the Bronx called Rodman's Neck. It's right by City Island, so it's like on the water. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's a nice area, I guess, to do this kind of stuff. But there's so many surrounding areas of like old factories and stuff that I feel like
Sure.
the city can utilize for those training purposes. But will they do it? It's everything is this, bro. It's all about
Right.
money. Does it make sense? Did you really think they give a shit about all this stuff? No, it's just
Well, if you look
comes
at it
down to dollars and cents for the most
But
part.
if you look at it from the cost benefit, not just in the loss of life, the bad PR, but there's got to be a figure. We paid X number of dollars out in lawsuits in the last 10 years. If we spent this much right now and had this much for training, it would reduce that number by 80%, and then we'd be above, we'd be in the black versus the red.
Sounds like they need Elon Musk in there somewhere.
Sure. Yeah,
Balance their books.
The other thing I was going to say, I agree, you didn't say it, but I think I'm getting it from you. They also need to understand what it's like to get hit in the fucking face.
A cop?
And I'm not saying like you need to punch a cop. I'm saying that police officers need to have that happen so they don't panic. That to take it back to Tyson, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah, sure.
And so combatives, like I don't know how many programs I've seen because I do jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, and MMA, and I see on my Instagram feed lots of different escalation use of force because they'll have these guys doing jiu-jitsu and it's like cop jitsu or something I think is what they call it.
Okay.
And then they'll just drop a fake gun in the middle of them rolling. And then it's now all of a sudden there's a deadly weapon there or a knife or whatever. And I think it's interesting because it really puts in perspective how things can go.
Real life
and I think
situation.
if, you're doing your little thing and then all of a sudden, everybody's got puffies on or everybody's got 16-ounce gloves on, so no one's going to get hurt, but it's like you're doing your thing, you're having your interaction. Oh, well, I need to see your ID. Bam, you get hit in the mouth. What do you do? And maybe not even all the way hard, but maybe you're just running at 20% for, individual safety, because for training you don't need to fuck each other up.
Right.
I don't see people doing that.
They have. So when I went through the academy, like I said, it's changed so much within the last 5 years of the department, and I saw those changes on my way out. But I worked with an individual who worked in the police academy for, I think, 20 years. Like, he's a legend in the academy. Everybody knows him. He's trained everyone. And what he was telling me was just shocking. Like, you know, we went through boxing. You know, you put the headgear on and stuff, and we went through a little bit of groundwork and stuff like that. I had prior experience doing mixed martial arts, and I did kung fu as a kid. I did a little taekwondo, so I knew what it was like to get kicked in the face and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't really foreign to me, like you were saying, but watching a lot of those kids, even in my time, now from the 20-year sergeant, he told me you're not even allowed to do that anymore. It's so watered down. Like, I don't even know what they're allowed to do. Can't even yell at them. So, like, what the fuck? Like,
They're going to start giving
you're
them
gonna hurt my
stress
ear
cards.
by yelling at me. Imagine if you punched them. So I don't know if they still do that. However, when I was going through it, you could, you know, you fought in front of everyone. You could actually see some of these guys like, you really want to do this, bro? Like, you don't even know how to throw a fucking punch. Like, you really want to get in the street and fight with someone? Like, I'm nervous for them. I'm watching them like, oh, man, this fucking kid, look at this kid. Like, you know, like.
Well, also, he's going to have my back someday, maybe.
That too.
That's not the dude that I want covering me.
No, man, no. And I mean, nowadays, like I said, and that was with my time, you know, so, you know, there was still like a good amount of people who actually wanted to be cops. Now there's nobody that wants to really be a cop. It's not enticing at all. You're making $44,000 a year. You're living in a city that's super expensive, doesn't support you.
44.
Yeah, I think it's the starting salary. When I started, it was 44 too. It might be 47 or 48. I don't think it's more than 50.
What the fuck? I thought the prosecutors had it bad. They were going to start us at like 61.
46.9.
46.9. So
And with
it's-
New York's taxes, get fucked.
That's what I'm
So your,
saying.
your take home is $17,000.
It's not, bro.
It's 46.9, and then
After 5 years, I know
okay.
the whole thing.
Okay.
I'm telling you, don't fall for it. That's how they get you. It's so enticing. Oh wait, but after 5, you got to eat shit for 5 years in a city that's like unaffordable. If you're making 150 fucking thousand, forget about 50.
Well,
Like,
that's because so much goes away in taxes.
it's all gone. It's not even that. It's just the cost of living and everything is just so expensive. When I was going through the academy, I made $11.50 every 2 weeks. How the fuck do you
Take home?
survive? Yeah. How do you survive off that? I used to see.
you're a single guy. You could
But I
probably
used to
get a
see
nice
guys with
cardboard
families
box.
doing this. It'd be like, I got to go home to my kids. Like, what the fuck are you doing? How are you doing this? You know,
My
And you
kids
weren't-
have jobs
So
too.
you
Not allowed. Yeah,
Eat
I
your
know
ramen
kids
noodles.
are.
I got my second job. I'm
I gotta go
delivering
pick up my
pizzas
son
tonight.
from work. It's crazy, man. And
it
think
sucks.
about that now. Like, okay, career opportunity and benefits was a huge reason why I joined as well.
Sure.
But you see a lot of these people doing that, but then I don't even know if the career opportunity and benefits outweigh everything that you have to go through, all the sacrifices and all the shit you have to eat for how long? It's crazy.
Probably
It's
not.
ridiculous.
Well, man, we got to wrap it up. But
Sounds good.
Truly, thanks for coming on. I definitely want to have you again. We'll
it's
do
my pleasure.
We'll do some
Yeah.
different
Thank you guys
kind
for
of
having me.
perspective stuff. But it was good to get to talk to you.
Yeah.
We do kind of dump on cops a little bit. It's sort of a occupational hazard. I think we've always said that it's not the individuals; it's just the institution that sometimes you have an issue with. But
Sometimes it's the individuals that choose,
Sure.
certain choices that.
sure,
I have a philosophy. I think it comes down to the person. If you were, and I said it all the time, if you were a cool guy before you got on the job, you'll be cool while you're on, you'll be cool when you get off. If you were an asshole before, you'll be a real big asshole while you're on and probably a bigger asshole.
because now you're an
when
asshole with power.
There you go. That's how it comes down. I appreciate you guys having me on. Definitely everybody check me out, Corruption Connection. I'm on YouTube as well.
We'll link
link 'em.
you
Yeah.
at the bottom of that. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, bro.
All right.
Peace.
See ya.